and
Welcome
Renmar to bring us to this game. Now on desk, it's me, Naisu, withing on for the final match in the series, final game in the series, game number 3 here between TNC and FCAP. You know, coming into this, we didn't think that we would see how game 1, where it was Winions, and then game 2 went, where TNC completely controlled the game against FCAP, and now what is in store for us for game number 3. Let's start off with this, Ingan. What do you think of the lineups here? What do you think of the compositions?
I think TNC, I agree with Rockhart and Renmar, the 4 protect 1 strategy. Gonna double down on the damage coming in from Kozin. Coming from that performance during game number 2 wherein he didn't die.
Yeah.
Plus the kit that they have right now, again, doubling down with the Escalera and Heads heroes. I think if they execute it to perfection like game number 2, it's gonna be a really fast game.
It's interesting too because Kozin, even with how, you know, unfortunate game 1's ending was for TNC, Kozin played the game really well. Heads.
Oh,
okay.
Forces out the flicker. Okay, so this time, Falcons AP BREN are replicating what TNC did, focusing on the XP lane.
Yeah, focus on the side lanes here because of the fact that, you know, Heads had an amazing game on the Trizza previously. But that's the thing, Kozin, going back to the point here, this is an interesting pick that you do not see often. You don't see the Ixia picked up by a lot of teams. Certain players like to do it. And Kozin has had a phenomenal series, I would say, because he's barely died. You know,
yeah.
And even in the, like we saw when he played the carry in game 1 and then the Claude last game, it's been great for him. So I'm just wondering how this glass cannon type of hero, this Ixia, is going to work out for him. He did run the Warcry emblem, so he's looking for even more of a glass cannon build than just setup here. And that's great that they brought Escalera on the Matilda again to help with that utility and escape. And now for the first turtle here, who's going to get it?
Oh, it's still going to go to Kyle TZ. Now uses the Spear of Alpha. Flap TZ goes in with the last Insanity. Oh! But the jump's coming in from Flap. Kaizen has to walk away. The flicker coming in from Flap will bring down Kaizen.
Okay, so a whole lot actually there for FCAP. This is a little different than last time, right? For TNC, they usually had the lead. Full barrage going to be dropped down. Not enough there. Again, Ogwin dropping up that big shield to deal with too. So going back to it, FCAP got a lot. They got the objective. They got the first blood. You know, and this time around too, Flap TZ has the flicker instead of the vengeance that we have seen him play on this Fovius in the past. And so, you know, with that, he gets a little more play-calling ability.
Oh, Ogwen on the other hand here. Last Insanity to bring him down as he charges the Numinum Blast. But the question is, were they able to get the purple buff? Wait.
Yeah, he's got it.
Okay.
He's got it locked in. Kaizen was able to grab it. Retribution was used as well, so he'll go and get the orange here. Few takes a couple shots from Escalera, but this is the thing, you know, FCAP playing with a little bit of the lead they have. This is where I'm saying, you know, we've seen this time and time again too, Super Marco on the Maz Kav, and it's something that TNC wants to deal with. If a game gets out of hand early on, I feel like in this sense,
yeah,
TNC will find themselves kind of struggling a little bit. They have good damage profiles, magic and physical, you know, throughout all stages of the game. But just playing with the utility that they have, again, is what they need to be able to come through with. And that's really all on Escalera right now for the Matilda, making things work. Heads, if he continues to play like he has through the series, is also going to be crucial for TNC.
And I think for Falcons AP BREN, although they lack the kit for the clashes, their split push potential and pickoffs are immense though. So I think Falcons AP BREN, they really just wanted to divide and conquer. As much as possible, avoid those 5v5 clashes.
Yeah.
Avoid activating Heads with the penalty zone or the aggression coming in from Escalera's Matilda. But right now, look at this full barrage coming in from Kozin. Super Marco flickers in to avoid the full barrage. Just the last effort to save himself, but he's going to fall down in exchange for the turtle of Kyle TZ.
That's a whole lot you really can't escape, whether you use the Purifier or not. You know, you try to get out of range for it, but eventually just a whole lot going here for FCAP. Again, an objective in their hands. They're going to play around to the macro level a little bit more, take some resources, but TNC answers back as well by getting, you know, some of this gold on that plating here up top. So it's a trade. That's what's happening here for both of them. And TNC, oh, look at the setup here, FCAP. A lot of members here on the top side.
Numinum Blast, gonna charge up, circling Eagle, coming in from Escalera. They're not going to go for the engage instead, trying to avoid those sour moments, those acid moments. But I think FlapTZ wants to go in. They still have the Spear of Alpha. Here comes Kaizen. It's going to be a 4-on-3. But TNC has the turret. They're going to burst down Kozen. TNC has to walk away here. It's 4 members of Falcons AP BREN getting a kill.
Yeah, and that's tough because like Kozen had the flicker, but really, even if he had used it, it was just way too much presence from FCAP there. So it's better, you know, even with, and that's the unfortunate part, even with multiple team members there, Kozen really didn't have any other option to really play around with. Retribution going to be used on Kaizen. Look at this, they already get the Insanity out, last Insanity.
Oh! Still manages to use the Spear of Alpha onto Escalera.
All for the turret.
All for the turret. A lot of resources expended for TNC, and Falcons got the turret from Marco up top.
This is, and you saw that, right? Few also just using the black shoes here. And this is going back to the point earlier. I think it was tough the previous game when you saw that Eve picked up for Few. This time around,
it's a Lilia.
It's a Lilia, and part of his job is literally just to be annoying enough to keep people from initiating. Earlier that was heads. Now he's also doing it over here to Lancey. And when you start to build up those items on the Lilia, the damage is actually quite surprising, especially with the blooms here, and then the black shoes being able to escape a lot of those initiations. So this third turtle.
Oh, heads goes in with the penalty zone, and circling eagle combination again goes in. Full barrage, able to free hit. Falcons AP BREN has to catch the back line as Kyle TZ soaks some damage from the front line. FlapTZ goes in with the Infernal Pursuit. Kozen's gonna fall down all of a sudden for TNC as they work on the turtle. But FlapTZ continuing to jump right after heads. They have to walk away now. Falcons AP BREN with 2.2k gold lead still want to go in because Super Marco goes in. Look at that Flap. This is a Phobius without a vengeance. So he's going to fall down, a 2-for-1 exchange. And now TNC on the driver's seat once again. The Black Shoes has been popped, but here comes Marco. He still have the Spirit of Destruction. He can go in anytime because Kaizen is also low. Super Marco going right after Escalera, has to walk away. Heads again with the penalty zone onto Few. He's going to burst him down. There's no Black Shoes. And who's going to get the turtle? It's going to go on to Kozen. That was a long clash, but I feel like TNC won that trade.
Man. Talk about an extended team fight. It all started off with them starting to take the turtle. Oh.
Look at the combination of the Dominators, the Scented Full Barrage.
Okay. That's it. And that's what I was saying earlier. You know, when that full barrage is dropped down, it's hard to kind of play against that if you're full front of it. But TNC, going back to the last fight, great discipline there to wait for FCAP when everything was utilized. Then they came back swinging, and they end up getting objective. They lowered down that gold lead that was building. You know, they still have to work against it, but you can see the items starting to fall into place. Still, Kozen only on the Corrosive Scythe, though. Once he gets locked in, you know, 2-3 items, then that full barrage will hurt a little bit more. You can see now he finally picks up the DHS, and he's going to work on this Tier 1. Okay. Should be able to get it. Okay, it looks like they do. They'll back off TNC taking the discipline route. And we'll see them. FCAP, how are they responding across the map?
Oh, I think there's going to have a clash here onto the middle lane as the mid trio of TNC working on the mid. Okay, it's going to be a 5-on-5. Who's going to initiate first? But okay, for Falcons AP BREN, I mean for TNC, it's nice that Escalera can be aggressive and at the same time be defensive as much as possible. But they can't just keep relying on heads with the beautiful penalty zones. Because the moment the penalty zone doesn't connect, it's going to be an opening for Falcons AP BREN that clearly they always utilize. And for FlapTZ, oh wait, Kozen's ranking among all gold laners.
TNC Kozen leads all gold laners in average damage per minute at 2,838, and damage dealt sharing among all gold laners at 29.68% during the first half of the regular season. And that's why I talked about him earlier. You know, Kozen, through this series, he's had a great series so far. Nearly was deathless, if I recall right, in the last game, but if not, very little deaths from the carry to the Claude, and now the Iksha here.
It's going to go to a Lord Dance once again as Super Marco works on the bottom lane. TNC trying to burst down the Lord. FlapTZ surveying the scene. Now Few.
Super Marco bottom.
The picture again. Super Marco still at the bottom lane as Ogwe charges the Numinum Blast, and the full barrage is also there. Retribution battle. Kozen gets the Lord, and now TNC has to walk away because they're all low. Lancey flickers out. No trade. Spear of Destruction is gonna miss. So TNC, what a play.
So Super Marco decided to go push that tier 2 on the bottom side. TNC manages to get the Lord through it, but it's still FCAP going and knocking down these tier 2s now. So even with that play, TNC, they're going to lose some space to work with, but they have the Lord. What can they get out of it? They still need to work down on the side of FCAP's map, but that's the thing. You saw that setup potential, you know, and this is what we've been talking about a lot. Especially when the full barrage is used, FCAP can't just blindly walk into it.
Yeah.
And so we saw that happen here. So now we'll see. TNC, they've got a little bit of an advantage to work with. They want to take this gold lead and whittle down as much as possible.
Okay, Kaysen uses his retribution onto FlapTZ. And now the Lord marching into top lane. With Falcons AP Brent's lead, for sure no inhibitor turrets will be taken down unless Heads comes up with a miracle penalty zone once again. I think he tried to cast it. It's going to be cancelled as FlapTZ starts things off. Look at Ogwen. Numinum Blast going to connect with the Circling Eagle. Guiding Wind will save the members of the Phoenix Army. FlapTZ goes in deep. Look at Super Marco working onto the backline, but he's going to fall down first. FlapTZ nowhere to be found. Koza with a full barrage. And now the TNC, they've turned the tide to their favor. KyleTZ working on Kaysen. Still has the immortality.
Marco.
It will be popped. KyleTZ so close to damage up against 3. He was up against 3, but he's still alive. Last Insanity is going to bring him down. Ogwen and Few left against Lancy, Kaysen, and Kozen.
Oh, you don't see that often, but man, Super Marco went in, thought he might be able to go ahead and kill Kozen, but Kozen says no. Bulletproof, Marco, you're not bulletproof today against this Ixia. And it's starting to be a very big problem for FCAP in these team fights. A lot of the times we see that, the initiation coming out from FlapTZ, going forward with the Infernal Pursuits, but TNC has that fight in them. They have that Phoenix in them.
They have the Phoenix, the burning passion to bounce back from the first half. I mean, that was a good initiation from Flap and Ogwen, but TNC just really standing their ground. Clearly, there's synergy and chemistry. They've worked on it for 4 weeks. And this is up against Falcons AP BREN. I mean, one of the titans along with TLPH. And this is how you perform? This is what you're doing right now?
I mean, put that into consideration here. TNC, second half of the regular season. If they are able to win this series against FCAP, I will truly be a believer of what you said earlier leading into this. Anything can happen.
I told you.
For the second half of the regular season. And we saw, again, you guys, you've been watching, your viewers out there, you know TNC has struggled in the first half. But even with that being said, if they somehow win things, starting with this, they're not too far in terms of points to get to the playoffs ahead of them. And now they want to control this Lord here, starting things up. Super Marco still on the bottom side.
Again, Heads with the penalty zone, not going to connect onto anyone. Just trying to zone out Falcons AP BREN, the Lord. A fifth of his health gone now. FlapTZ goes in. Kaysen still going to get the Lord. Spear of Destruction is not going to connect, so TNC wants to go all in. FlapTZ continuing with the Infernal Pursuit as Lance Insanity will be popped. He's very low though, so Ogwen casts a Numinum Blast. Look at that from the backline. KyleTZ goes in with the Spear of Alpha. And the damage coming in from View is just too much. Lancy, Heads is going to fall down. Kozen answers right back. KyleTZ is going to fall down as well. The sandwich coming in from Falcons AP BREN. This time the Bulletproof is here. It's going to be a wipeout for Falcons AP BREN!
Unfortunately for TNC, they lose the fight, but they got the Lord. But it's only Lancy coming up. Can he stop 4 members?
That's up against 4. Super Marco doesn't care as they try to work on the Dominator's descent.
That's it.
And the Crystal, the base, the momentum, back to the Titans.